What is the best investment that you can make? Is it in stocks, real estate, gold, cryptocurrencies, or angel investments, or something else? This is exactly what we'll figure out in this video. Hello everyone, my name is Akash Mandhar. I am a technology executive, an angel investor, a content creator, and a career coach. My passions include solving complex problems with a team, driving business outcomes, and value creation for everyone. So, going back to the question that I posed, what is the best investment? Some may say that getting 8 to 10% return every year in the stock market is a great investment. Some may say that the real estate market is the best investment. Through years of experience, I have figured out that the best investment you can make is in yourself. In this video, we will be covering why is it important to invest in yourself, how to think about yourself and what activities you could invest in, how could you go about investing in yourself, and some stories from my personal experience where I invested in myself and I reaped good dividends, and what are some of the lessons that you can take from the same. So without further ado, let's get started. When you invest in stocks, real estate, angel investing, or any other sort of traditional investing, you are giving your hard-earned money to other people to work hard for you to increase the money so that you can get good returns on it. But instead, if you were to take that money and invest it in yourself and upskill yourself and your ability to earn more money over time, then that I think is a much better investment, because leveling up yourself is something in your control, whereas the external investments are not always in your control. You instead do more heavy due diligence and you diversify and you spend all of this time and energy in trying to become a good investor for folks who will never be able to work as hard as you can for yourself. If you don't believe in this, let's have a look at some of the companies who have done exactly that. Amazon, for example, invested in expanding its e-commerce capabilities and cloud computing services. They ran on razor-thin margins for a very, very long time and kept reinvesting all of the profits that they were getting back into the business to build up the flywheel. Apple and Microsoft do stock buybacks too. So these are the companies that you need to watch out for, because they're constantly reinvesting in themselves as opposed to taking this money and putting it to use through their treasury strategies. This is not just limited to companies. You can look at individuals such as Mr. Beast, who's a very famous YouTuber. He invests in himself always to level up the production of his viral videos and his philanthropic efforts. He recently had an offer to buy his entire brand and his entire company for $1 billion, which he turned down because he was so confident that he will keep investing in himself to keep taking the whole thing way further. The best thing about investing in yourself is it compounds over time. So any skill that you learn today is with you for the lifetime, and it makes a lot of things easier for you in the future. So this is my case for why you should be investing in yourself, in addition to investing in other avenues. So how can we think about everything that we do and break it up into pieces to determine where should we invest in ourselves? For example, if we consider ourselves to be an airline with a single plane, which is ourselves, then the 3 roles that we take in that airline while the plane is trying to go to a certain destination or to achieve the goal that you have in mind is we're a pilot, we're the plane itself, and we're the engineer. What the pilot does is the pilot determines the destination that we are going to go to and also checks out the weather and what the flight plan is going to be. The next thing is, most of the times you're the plane. Once you have your path charted out, your job is to fly to your destination and then adjust accordingly, because never do things go to plan. There's always things that you need to adapt to, and that's what your job is as you're going towards your goal, which has already been determined when you were acting as the pilot. And the third thing you do is you are the engineer who's looking to optimize how can you make better decisions on where you want to go, how can you make the plane more fuel efficient, and how can you get there in the fastest and the most convenient manner. So if you think of yourself as doing three main things, is once you have a goal planned out, how do you get there, and how can you optimize to get there, and how do you choose better goals in the future? Then you have the three activities that you can think of where you can invest your time and money in. Okay, time to jump on to a different analogy. Now imagine you're a soccer player and you're trying to get better in soccer, right? How do you go about it? You can go ahead and read articles which are posted online for how to get better with a certain trick or how to get better at soccer. The second thing you can do is you can go read a book about it. The book is going to be more structured than the online article. It may give you a more step-by-step instruction of how to go about it, how do you do your fitness routines, and how do you do your warm-ups, and how many reps should you do. And it's more comprehensive than any single article is going to be. So you get more value from a book than you would get from an article. The third thing you could do is you could go sign up for a course or a camp. So you still need your books, you still need your articles to find those gaps, but this is a more structured plan. We're also doing things. Think of this as your universities. Think of this as an online course that you take to level up yourself and your skills to become a better soccer player. What's the fourth thing you can do? Just go and play soccer. Start in the lowest league, start with the local clubs, work your way up and keep playing better and better soccer, because the best way we learn is by doing. All of the other information that we have gathered is useless if you do not put it into action. No article or no book is going to be able to make you a better soccer player until you go on the field and kick the ball. The course that you took may have some practical parts to it where you get to kick the ball sometimes and learn all of these techniques, but you still need to go practice it on your own, and then you need to go practice it with a team for in-game situations. There's just no way around that. And then here's the last one. You can go ahead and hire a coach. Once you understand the basics of what soccer is, how to play it, and you're in a team, you are now ready to invest in getting a coach who will help you take your game to the next level. The reason is, when you learn by doing, you're learning by friction that you're experiencing right now, but you don't know what are the other frictions and things you're going to hit just as you start growing, or what is the best way to address the problem. And you can keep doing hit and trial and try 100 different things and still not land on the perfect solution. You may land on a good enough solution, but someone with the expertise to give you just-in-time advice tailored to your situation will significantly benefit you more. But you do that once you have done the basics, once you have gotten to a certain level where the coach is now going to help you put you into the next level. And even the biggest soccer teams in the world have coaches. The national teams have coaches. All of those soccer players are really, really good. It's just about getting them to play together, helping them with the strategy, and taking them to the next level. And that's the job of a coach, and that's the job of a career coach and an executive coach. It is very, very helpful if you're an individual contributor in a big company trying to make it to the next level, but it is extremely, extremely crucial if you're a startup executive looking to take your company to the next level, because the stakes are much, much higher and you don't want to learn things the hard way. So the time and energy and the money that you invest in getting a coach for yourself will give you 10x, 20x, 100x returns, because they'll be able to work with you to anticipate problems and help you solve the problems in a manner which works for you, which no book and no courses and no self-practice is going to be able to do. All right, let's get back to our original analogy of being that airline with a single plane. So now that you understand how you can level yourself up, let's talk about what are the different areas of life in which most people aspire to level themselves up with the analogies of the plane. The three areas, the most common areas, if you were to go ask somebody what their goals are for the year or in life, would be in the categories of health, happiness, or prosperity. Health is about both your physical and mental health. Happiness is about the people you surround yourself with. And then prosperity can be either monetary or achievements that you have, or in the community, how you contribute. So there are different ways to look at it. But at a super high level, think that your plane has these three dashboard indicators, and your job in life is to go ahead and maximize them to the value that makes the most sense to you. The reason why health is important is this determines the longevity of how long your airline can be in business. So if you do not focus on health and focus on everything else, well, you're not going to be able to be in business for very long or be an airline for very long. So definitely invest in your health. Invest in your happiness. Well, the journey is not going to be a lot of fun if it's really sad and boring and gloomy. So invest in your relationships, invest in people, and then you're going to be able to go a long way. But most of the people, they only want to invest in prosperity, and that too just in money, right? So achievements and money is where most of the people want to focus, and that is what they equate progress with. So these are the three areas that I would encourage you to think and build goals in, and find people who can coach you, find the books, find the courses, so that you can level up yourself and your airline can be immensely profitable in the long run on these three aspects. So, first story. The year was 2016, and I had just gotten the offer to go join EA. And the position was to go build a virtual economy platform which is secure and scalable by default that any game at EA could go use. And the reason behind it was as follows. EA had had immense success with the FIFA game in live services, where the game was making a lot of money in live services. So every single game at EA wanted to have an in-game virtual economy so they could go replicate what FIFA was doing. But wherever there is money, there's fraud. So there were a lot of challenges that FIFA was facing because of the increased popularity. Because of this, all other studios took a collective step back. So my job was to come in and build this virtual economy platform to go get FIFA to migrate over, and then get all of the other studios also to migrate over, because if we can solve FIFA's problems, we can solve everyone's problems. So what happened over here was we tried for like a year and a half and built a platform which worked for both FIFA and other games. But we doggedly kept pursuing FIFA, but their problem was not as big as that of the other studios. And this was a realization that I had after over a year and talking to my mentors and people that I really trusted, because they had a working solution for their problem and they had been fighting this, and they probably understood the problem better than we did at that point in time, even though we believed that we did understand it. But other teams had no solution. So the first thing we figured out was you have to solve the problem that they have and not solve for the problem that you think they have. So it is extremely important to understand what exactly your customers' problems are and how you can go about solving it. So one of the books that really helped us at that point was The Mom Test. I highly recommend it to everyone who's looking to figure out what are the exact problems that a customer has and what are some of the questions you should be asking them to determine what the real problem is. When I first joined EA, the virtual economy platform was just 3 people. Myself, the director of engineering, we had a director of product, and we had 1 engineer. So just the 3 of us trying to get FIFA and all of the other games at EA to move on to this virtual economy platform that we still did not have. So it was like being a startup within a big company. So we were well funded, we could go hire people, we had the runway, but we had to have the same entrepreneurial spirit to go take the team from the ground up and scale it up, where we had internal customers that we had to convince to come on board. As we started growing, we soon figured out that there was a lot of friction at these step functions. Like a team of 5 is not the same as a team of 15, is not the same as a team of 30. And you need to change how you manage based on how many people are there in the team. And then we had our first and second successful release of the game. And until then, we were just flying by the seat of our pants. We were changing the code willy-nilly, doing whatever it takes to just get the service out there, to just get the game shipped. But what worked for us before we had launched the game was now causing issues after we had launched the game, because there were some incidents that we were releasing out there, like the incidents that were caused because of like bugs in the code. There wasn't enough testing, there wasn't enough reliability in a build pipeline, because this never mattered until we had the first game out there. We just had to go get a single build that worked and put it out there. So we started experiencing this friction in a lot of places. What should we prioritize? How do we go about it as the number of customers increase? So we hit upon this other book called The Predictable Success. Let me find it. It's right here. So the Predictable Success book has this wonderful chart in the background, which I would highly recommend everyone use. And what we had figured out was we were in a phase called the whitewater. So we started off in the early struggles. We were trying to prove the feasibility of the team so we could actually get a customer. When we got a couple of customers, we were scaling. We were having a lot of fun. And then what worked for us stopped working us, and we started running into the whitewater phase. And the way forward was basically to put some structure and processes, but just enough structure and processes to get predictability. But people wanted to fall back to the fun way of doing things. They were always like, oh, this worked for us in the past. This is how we should do things. We should fall back to that. So this is where you power through, get just enough structure, but not too much, to then get into a treadmill and become a bureaucracy. So this was a very important learning. As we were going through this, the priorities constantly kept changing. What we had to work on, who we had to work with, how we organize ourselves also kept changing. So I used to go have chats with my mentor about how can I share my vision of what we need to do with the team, and how can I get them to pivot and change as we are pivoting and changing the direction that we need to head. Because in the early stages of a startup and the early stages of our team, we had to pivot pretty quick. So there were 3 models that we went through. The first model was basically just Scrum teams. And we broke it up in ways that you own these 2 pieces of the service and you own these 2 pieces of the service. And the problem we ran into was there was a lot of throwing things over the fence. It was like, this is not my problem, this is your problem, and this is not my problem, this is your problem. The other issue we had was every time you assigned a team a work, the question would be, based on what? Based on what rubric? Why isn't that team going ahead and getting this thing? Why are we going ahead and getting this? That wasn't working very well. So we said, you know what? Since our priorities are also changing quarter over quarter, let's go ahead and determine teams for a certain quarter and get people to work on it. And the next quarter, it's going to be a different set of teams. So I used to write this one-page document saying what are our priorities for the quarter, assign people to it. I thought would work really well. Now I think it was the most terrible idea because there was constant change and work never really finished at the end of a quarter boundary. So there would always be bleed in. And then people who were signing up for some work in the next quarter had someone on the team who was dealing with work from the previous quarter because it was almost done. It was really, really painful. So we're constantly dropping things, picking things up. And then eventually the realization dawned that what we really need over here is aligned autonomy. So we broke it based on product lines, and we had the team own the product and had end-to-end accountability for it. So once we did that, things suddenly changed. Now people had end-to-end control, and they were not just working on a product, they were the owners of the product. And that just changed everything for us. We still had other things we did to allow people to move between teams and work on whatever they wanted to work on. But the whole point is it's very important to have aligned autonomy. It is very important to have some systems in place, but not too much. And what systems you have in place changes dramatically over where you are in the phase of your company and where you are in the phase of your team. So what works for you at a certain scale will stop working for you at a different scale. The secret to me has always been aligned autonomy. If you can achieve that, if people are aligned on what needs to happen and they have the autonomy to go achieve how they want to do it, that's the state that you want to be in. I have this term that I really like to use. It's called the trust battery. And what it basically signifies is that trust is earned over time. So you slowly charge your trust battery, but it is very easy to discharge your trust battery. As a leader, your job first and foremost is to earn the trust and retain the trust of all stakeholders that you interact with, whether it is your reports, your peers, your managers, your customers, your partners. It doesn't matter who you work with, you have to be someone who inspires trust and people can trust you to do what you say. So you never say one thing and do another thing. A couple of examples of this are, when we first started the virtual economy platform at EA, I used to work hand in hand with every single game team to establish trust, to tell them exactly what we can do and what we cannot do. I would not let things dangle, but that started becoming a bottleneck for me. So we introduced a model called the liaison model. We found engineers on the team who were willing to step up and take up this role of building and establishing trust with our customers. And when we did that, we found that we were able to scale the trust. The engineers had more context on exactly what was going on. And in fact, they knew of the ask that the customer would have even before the product team would understand about them. Now, how did this play out for us? So I was at the airport. I think I was trying to fly to Stockholm or something like that. And I get a call from the head of technology of Apex Legends. Apex Legends had used a virtual economy platform and they were currently integrating with a social platform. And he said, look, my team is not happy. There are some issues. Your social offering isn't very good, is what I hear from my team. And I think it's very likely we will not end up using this. I trust you, so I wanted to let you know that this is actually the case and give you a chance to remediate it and to clarify things out if there's some misunderstanding at play. And lo and behold, there was miscommunication at play. When they had asked for certain features, we just gave them one document which is very pertaining to that feature, which too was a little old. So they were just baffled around how can they go implement this feature. So we had a very good heart-to-heart with the engineer, and the head of technology was there too, and I had my leaders over there in the room too, and we were able to sort it out. What we ended up doing over there was replicated the liaison model, which we had in Marketplace, also on the social team. With that, the level of trust just suddenly jumped through the roof. The engineer who was really, really unhappy with what the team did was now really, really happy with the team and able to work very closely with them to deliver cross-platform friends, presence, and game invites in a massively successful game like Apex. A lot of the times, the problems that we run into are because we have incorrect assumptions, we have misaligned expectations, or we do not communicate our assumptions and expectations with each other. So having a liaison model, having the bridge, and charging the trust battery, make sure that the communication lines are always open and you can always stay aligned. Going back to the principle of aligned autonomy, both sides can be fully aligned and work in an autonomous fashion. The bottleneck is always on the top of the bottle. Your job as a leader is to not become the bottleneck for your team. I've always lived with the goal of working myself out of a job. It does not mean that I don't like my job. It just means that I do not want to be the bottleneck for my team or get in the way of my team. I want to constantly level them up so they can work on more interesting and exciting things so that I can expand my remit and work on more interesting and exciting things. With the marketplace team, which is a virtual economy platform, I was able to get them to a place where I was then able to go ahead and talk to my manager about, hey, if you need help with more things, I'm available to give you my help because I have kind of put this on an autopilot where, again, like delegation is not abdication. I was still overseeing everything and making sure that we were doing the right thing, but I do have extra capacity to take on more work. This allowed me to go ahead and take on the responsibilities of leading the social team. And then for that, I had to fly over to San Francisco pretty frequently, almost like for 2 days a week for 6 months until we found a local leader who's amazing to start leading the team. Doing this allowed me to expand my remit and have a broader impact on the organization. So while you may feel like it's really, really the essence of your existence to be in control of everything that's going on as an IC or even as a people manager, you have to start letting go and start automating things if you want to free yourself up to be called upon for the bigger opportunities in your organizations that are going to come up. You don't want to be the person who's so crucial to one thing that when an opportunity that you've really been waiting for comes, your name is not called because you're too crucial to be working on that thing. Don't give up things. You can put it on autopilot so it takes very little of your energy so you can dedicate a lot of your energy to the new thing until you can also figure out a way to get that working on autopilot. And that is how you scale. So, in conclusion, the best investment you can make is in yourself. You can level up yourself by reading relevant articles, books, taking courses, learn by doing, and get yourself a coach. With that, I would like to wrap this video up. But before wrapping up, here's my YouTube channel. Please go ahead and subscribe to it. You can also subscribe to my newsletter, which is currently on the screen. And if you have any coaching related questions, feel free to hit me up at the email address on the screen right now. And thank you so much for the gift of your time. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you.